Welcome to the 𝗙𝗂𝗿 𝗙𝗶𝗿 channel. I'm your host, Melissa O'Connor. I'm a Florida-based elder law attorney who does estate planning, commonly referred to as Medicaid planning, and I do probate, and I do it well. Today I wanted to respond to a question posed by one of my viewers. It asks, can you address cognitive decline and financial altruism? But before I do, I wanted to invite you to schedule a free strategy session with me at eldermeeting.com. So it's not unheard of and it's not uncommon for people who are experiencing cognitive decline to become more generous, right? They might have been generous people throughout their lives, but now that they are experiencing cognitive decline, they might become even more generous, and to the point where they're now harming themselves by having this financial altruism where they just will see somebody in need and give more than they're capable of, right? I know that there's been accounts, for instance, of somebody being even kind of scammed this way, right? Where they might be working in their front yard. A family approaches in a car and approaches them while they're working in their yard and says that they have a sick child. Can you help them? They hop in the car with this couple. They take them to the bank. They withdraw all the money from their bank account. The family then leaves the elderly person in the parking lot of the bank for them to then have to walk home, right? Or catch a ride home. And those sorts of stories, while sad, are not necessarily uncommon or unheard of, where people get taken advantage of and are really just trying to, what they believe, do the right thing, right? But because they have cognitive decline, they're not able to see the cues of maybe people who are being disingenuous, right? And when you know that you have a loved one that's experiencing cognitive decline and you notice that maybe they've become overly generous or easily scammed by sad stories that may or may not be true, that's the time to start to have conversations with them, put in place protections. You don't necessarily have to do things that remove one's dignity, but for instance, the concept that to protect the person, for instance, who withdrew all the money out of their bank account and gave it away, would be to limit that their access to maybe just like a small slush fund, a small pocket money fund, where their bank account that's connected to their debit card that they have access to only has a couple $100s in it. So that way, if they decide that they're going to empty the bank account, that it's only a few $100s, right, that they can have access to, and not all the money in their account, right? And to have the other monies be handled by other family members to, pay all the bills, those sorts of things. But, so they still have money in their wallet. They still have a card that they feel they can use. But it's limited as to how much they have access to just be overly generous with. It's unfortunately, just common, right? I guess there could be worse things than being overly, altruistic with your money, but it is not unheard of, and it is something that if you are living with a person that has Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, you do want to make sure that you have that conversation and you put protections in place, whether it is discussing and having protections about, cyber safety, right? Because sometimes people get scammed online, or just access, limiting the access on the card. But it definitely is something that happens with this types of diseases. And it's something that if you're a caregiver or a loved one of a person living with this disease, you want to be cognizant of and take precautions for. I hope that this information has been helpful to you. If it has, I ask that you like and share with others. And as always, thank you for joining me.